All right, everyone. Today was supposed to be a simple day, really easy. Just upload something so that somebody doesn't feel they have to watch a 2 hour stream to get a piece of news. And then this happened. Luigi Mangione just had his terrorism charges dropped. And so now it goes from first degree murder to second degree murder. That's a difference between 15 to life and 20 to 40. Why it stops at 40 on first degree murder, I don't know, but at least there's a 20 minimum. And he was likely to get more. Somebody actually brought up here what I thought as well. Second degree, he planned, he targeted, he followed through, he hid. How in the ever living hell is this second degree? NYC is a damn disgrace. He hunted, he planned, and he executed. That is first degree murder. And then you see this one by Lisa, and I think she kind of had the right idea, but it's not right. She's missing half of the issue here. So before you all get upset, judges and prosecutors will get together and look at the charges and choose the ones they will most likely get a conviction based on the evidence. This is to help ensure the conviction so the accused does not walk away. This is not a win for the defense. Yes, it is. It is definitely a win for the defense. If you've ever seen some of the charges that seem odd, it's because they are charging for multiple things. They could have charged for first degree and second degree at the same time. One would stick and the other wouldn't. That is completely acceptable. You're allowed to do that. And they stopped doing that in this case. Why? Because the judge is a cuck. That's why. That judge deserves to be in prison for what he just did. I know that we have a bill that's in there right now called the Jail Act. It is specifically for instances like this where people have their charges dropped or lowered. And so people get out with less time or no time at all. And we need that to go into effect because this is crazy. I know that this judge was put in place by the Republican governor at the time. But this cuck is probably too afraid that the city will just burn if this guy gets charged with terrorism charges. That is not an acceptable reason to stop a full charge of something that somebody did. This was hands down terrorism. Just because it wasn't against the government does not mean that it's not terrorism. Terrorism charges can be against any organization. And yes, that includes politicians. Yes, that includes the police. But guess what? It also includes against large organizations. He did not go after the person who denied his mother a claim. He went after a figurehead. Why do you go after figureheads? To put fear into the organization, in this case, a business, but any organization. This is terrorism. This guy did not make that decision. Somebody behind a computer did. Somebody on the phone did. Not him. And he waited until this person was at a large convention with investors to do this. This was planned. Like Mama Hare says, it was planned, it was targeted, and he followed through. And afterwards, he hid. This was all planned. This was to put fear into this company. That is terrorism. They could have charged both. So I have a article here by Reuters. Luigi Mangione wins dismissal of terrorism counts over killing the U.S. health insurance executive. They should have said the state counts. We're going to get into that later. So, like I said, it's Justice Gregory Caro. Go after him with anything you have legally to stop him. I, I know that a change.org doesn't work, but there are other ways to go after these people legally so that he gets in trouble. That means going after his license. Say, this guy dropped obvious charges. So, there are things like the bar exam or the bar. If it's a lawyer, you can go after their bar license. He is appointed, so you can't vote him out. But you know who can get him out? The governor. So talk to your governor. If you live in New York, talk to your governor. I forget who that is right now, and I don't want to look it up as I'm making this. But you can call your governor. Don't email him; it gets thrown away. Call and tell him this is unacceptable. There are legal ways to get these people out of office. And if this guy is too much of a cuck, he is too afraid of the city burning, that he is willing to drop the top charges to lower the penalty that this guy can get just so that the city doesn't burn, that is not acceptable. If he gets charged and people start trying to burn the city down, you bring in the cops and you bring in maybe the National Guard. Maybe you bring in the sheriffs. Maybe you need extra help from the state patrol. I mean, there are other organizations that do policing that can help take care of large protests like that. These states are unwilling to do it. All those protests that you saw during the Summer of Love, they could have been stopped. And this can be stopped too. This is not an excuse. But I bet that's what's in this guy's head. He has to be stopped. He did it this time. It can't be undone. But he has to be stopped before he does it again. And you do not have to get physical with the person. You don't have to assassinate him. Do not take this as me agreeing with anything along those lines. I am saying contact your governor, contact anyone in the state, contact your local police and say this is unacceptable. Make sure that you get more stuff on this guy and you bring it up to the prosecutor because they're the ones who are talking to the prosecution. Their detectives are talking to the prosecution and saying, we found this. I know it might be late, but maybe you can bring up this charge later. Maybe you need to bring it up in a separate case. But we found this on this guy. Try and get him on this too. That is possible because the court date is not even set yet. I know they're going to say later on there's a December court case date. That's not for the case. That's not for him to sit there and argue that it was justified or whatever. Or I know I was on video, but I didn't do it, I swear. This isn't that. So this is just for arguments, and more things can still be brought up by then. And they can hash it out by December 1st. And if not, on December 1st, in court, they can argue more charges. They could possibly even bring back the terrorism charge if they found something new. There are ways to go after this. There are ways to get after these judges. There are ways to stop them that do not require assassination like the left does. That is not necessary to get a resolution for this. So before you decide that you're not going to do anything because the only solution is assassination, stop. That is not the only solution. So going on here, a New York State judge dismissed Tuesday 2 terrorism-related counts against Luigi Mangione on over December 24 killing of health insurance executive Brian Thompson, though the 27-year-old remains charged with second-degree murder and 8 other criminal counts. So keep that in mind, too. He has 8 other counts. And they're going to bring him up here later. I'm not sure how much we're going to go over this, but it's things like a gun charge. You can't have a gun in New York City. So there are other things that they can go after him on, and they can decide, you know what? It's bullshit that he didn't get the terrorism charge. He's going to get the max for this gun charge. Stuff like that is possible. So Justice Gregory Caro ruled that prosecutors had not presented enough evidence to the grand jury that Mangione acted with the intent to intimidate health insurance workers or influence government policy. Obviously, he didn't do it for policy, but he did do it to put fear in insurance workers. I like how they said that. And they said that, which would have been necessary to prove murder as an act of terrorism. Okay. The fact that all these other companies pulled the names of all their executives off of their websites is proof enough that they were afraid that this happened. And Luigi had to have known that this was the entire purpose. Otherwise, he would have found the person who was on the phone and he would have gone after them. He would not have gone after a figurehead. He did it because he wanted to put fear into those people. The people behind the phone, the people behind the computer, by going after their CEO. That is the only purpose of going after a figurehead, is to put fear in everybody else in that organization, or a set of organizations in this case, other insurance companies. While there's no doubt that the crime in this issue here is not an ordinary street crime, it does not follow that all non-street crimes are meant to be included within reach of the terrorism statute. And this is what he wrote in his decision. That's bullshit. We never said that this was a regular street crime. We said that this was an assassination. That is what we, as the right, said. This is an assassination. And the left cheered it on. This is another instance of the left cheering on a person and the person getting a lower conviction, a lower sentence. And I know that we're not even at the sentencing point, but they stopped these people from even giving him a longer sentence by doing this. We have got to stop this at the source, because this is going to be a habit in New York City. New York City is very left. New York City is very Democratic. He was put in by a Republican, but this cuck was probably afraid, and he's just letting this happen. So while there is no doubt, that the crime of issue here was not ordinary street crime, I hate that line. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Nobody said it was. We said that it was done to put fear into these people. And that is what he did. He did put fear into these other people, including other companies. And so it is said how he came into court. That the judge set Mangione's next court date in the case for December 1st. And like I said, this is not going to be where he gets to defend himself. This is going to be some of the final decisions probably on what he's going to be charged with. This is going to be probably their last chance to bring up other charges that they might want to give him. That's what the first is for. So another thing that they brought up here, because we're going to skip over a bunch of that stuff. Of course, no, I can't find it. I had it highlighted and I got rid of it somehow. Here it is. Last week's killing of the conservative activist Charlie Kirk has fueled fears of a spike in the U.S. political violence. I know it seems unrelated. Let me cook. Tyler Robinson, the suspect in Kirk's killing, is expected to be formally charged in state crimes in Utah later on Tuesday. So it was today. Elected officials from both Republican and Democratic parties have condemned the killing. The killing of Thompson was also widely condemned by the public officials across political spectrum. Mangione has become a folk hero to some Americans who decry steep healthcare costs. I bring that up because a lot of that is going to sound very familiar to the left and to the right. To the left, the killers, both, including Tyler Robinson and Luigi Mangione, are heroes. To the right, they were both assassins. They are both doing it for terroristic reasons. And if these charges are so disparate and the final decision is so drastically different, people are going to be pissed. And that will become political violence. It won't be physical violence if it's on the right. It will be if it's on the left. And that, I bet, is what these judges are afraid of. Not the fact that they're going to let the guy out early, but the fact that their city's going to burn. And because the right doesn't burn cities down, they're going to cater to the left. So we have to be careful that we hold these people accountable and say, if the city starts looking like it's going to burn, that's what the police are for. That's what the sheriff's department is for. You can grab more people from your state patrol. You can get the National Guard brought in. You just ask for them. It's not that hard. You just ask. If you think there's going to be a city burning and you didn't contact those organizations, you let it burn. You let the violence happen. And then it's here, a small group of Mangione supporters gathered outside the courthouse Wednesday morning. One was dressed in a green costume of Nintendo character Luigi, and the other held a red and white and green Italian, because he's Italian, color with the words "Healthcare is a human right" inscribed on the flag. Healthcare is not a human right. Human rights are only what you can do yourself. Human rights are stopping people from affecting your life for no reason. As soon as you have to force somebody else to do something for you, it is no longer a human right. And it is saying things like that and letting people get away with saying things like that that cause these problems. We have to stop people from saying these things without repercussions. When somebody says it, you have to just absolutely make fun of them. If they make the comment on X, just go into their comments and just absolutely roast them. Make them want to quit social media so that they don't say it again. If they say it on Blue Sky, go on to Blue Sky, make a new account, and just relentlessly go after them. And just do it nonstop. Until they realize that they are in the minority for thinking like that, they're going to keep doing it. But as soon as they do realize that, they will leave the internet. Because they can't handle opposing arguments. The right will fight to the death other people's right to debate these people. But when they are asked to debate, they back off. That is what Charlie Kirk wanted. That is what these people who shoot these figureheads don't want. So keep that in mind when you see these people online. And they are allowed to make these comments. That is completely fine. We're also allowed to make fun of them for being dumb. So keep that in mind. That said, I won't be streaming tonight, but I will on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 Pacific. If you have any questions about this, I'm willing to answer them at that time, or you can ask the questions down in the comments. I hope to hear from you soon, and have a good one.